Welcome back. So this is TryMiner Review 123 here. So in this video I'm be demonstrating how to write Ubuntu to a USB to create a bootable Ubuntu USB, so you guys can run either Ubuntu live from the USB, or you guys can do a proper installation of Ubuntu onto your PCs, or you guys can do boot it, etc. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use Rufus to write this to a USB. So let's get started. So first off, I'm going to start by opening the browser. Okay, so now I've opened my browser. So I'm going to search up Ubuntu. And the first link is generally from the actual company itself. And what I recommend is you guys actually download software from the respective companies, as whether it's paid or not, as it supports the company. But not only that, getting these software from third-party companies is not always safe, as you can end up having malware, bloatware, adware, and etc. Show up on your computer. So yeah, so let's press on the first link over here. So if you press on download over here, as you can see, there's just Ubuntu desktop, which is the desktop version which we're going to be using. There's also the Ubuntu server, which is used for creating servers. There's cloud, IoT, and etc. There's also the lighter weight versions of Ubuntu over here. So in our case, we're going to be using Ubuntu desktop. So Ubuntu 20.0.4 LTS. LTS stands for long-term support. And the long-term support versions of Ubuntu generally have around 5 years of security and maintenance updates and other kinds of updates, as it says right here. In the case of this one, it turns out it has its updates up until April 2025. So in the case of Ubuntu 21.1, this one will have only 9 months of its update, as it says here, up until July 2022. So the difference between these two is that the Ubuntu 21.1 would have a little bit more features, and in the case of Ubuntu 20.0.4, it won't have all the latest features that Ubuntu 21.1 has. So we're going to be using Ubuntu 20.0.4 long-term support, because I prefer the long-term support over features. So I'm just going to press download. Okay, so now this is the download page. As you guys can see, it's being downloaded over here. So I'm just going to let this file download, and over here, if it doesn't download for you, you can try the download now button, and after you download it, as it says here, you guys can press the verify your download button and verify the ISO file which you've downloaded. So I'm just going to skip over to the part where this is completed downloading. Okay, so as you guys can see, it's downloaded right over here, the Ubuntu file. You guys probably have noticed also that I'm running Windows 11 on this PC at the moment. So this is actually a PC that's incompatible. The specifications are incompatible with Windows 11, but I actually used some tweaks to the installer and using Rufus to get it onto this PC. And in this case, you don't get those really irritating notifications where it says your PC is not compatible, and you continue receiving Windows 11 updates. So I'll get into that in another video, so let's get on with getting Ubuntu on this one. So in the previous Windows video I did, I showed how to do how to get Rufus or download Rufus, so you guys can check that out in my other video. So I'm just going to open up Rufus right now. Okay, so now I'm just gonna grab a USB I have here and plug it in. Okay, so now I've plugged in my USB. So this is actually the Windows 11 USB I used, but I'm going to be formatting it using Rufus and writing the Ubuntu ISO file to that USB. So let's just go to my desktop. As you guys can see, this is the Ubuntu ISO file. Just gonna click on that. There we go. So now Rufus by default just sets the proper or recommended settings, such as a partition scheme as MBR or target system as BIOS or UEFI. And the name by default becomes the name of the ISO file, the name of the USB. In my case, I don't need to change it because it's either way it says Ubuntu and the version name, which could be useful for me in the future when I pull out this USB again. So now I'm just going to start the writing. So use the ISO mode because not only is recommended Rufus, I also recommend it because I've never gotten any issues when I've done an ISO mode. Okay, so it's gonna ask if it wants to, because it's gonna format the whole USB, so everything on that device would be gone or destroyed, I guess, in the case like this does. So in my case, I don't really care about the data on there. I can rewrite it anytime again if I need to. So it's gonna partition, delete the partitions, then repartition it, and then after that, it's gonna copy and paste the ISO files as if writing it to this disk. So it's gonna create the bootable USB. So I'm just gonna skip over to once it completes. Okay, so now this is done writing the Ubuntu ISO files down to the USB. So now the USB's name itself is, as we had given it, Ubuntu 20.04.4 long-term support AMD 64. So AMD 64 stands for the 64-bit ISO, as AMD was the company, the first company to create a properly functioning 64-bit processor. So because of that, you may see that 32-bit software may have i36 or something like that, because Intel created the first proper 32-bit processor. So yeah. So now this is completed. So now you can just plug this into your PC, restart your PC, boot from the USB, and it should ask you if you want to install Ubuntu or if you want to just run a live USB, and you can do whatever you want with that. Hopefully this all went well for you guys. If not, you guys can ask questions in the comment section and I'll make sure I reply.